Welcome to Brand Bridge, the podcast about how brand can form a bridge from where you are to where you want to be. I'm here with Rebecca Battman, the founder of RBL Brand Agency. Over the past 20 years, RBL has done some incredible projects for the 2012 Olympic Our Greatest Team campaign and other brand projects such as NFU, ZSL, and Commonwealth Sport. As a result, the team at RBL, led by Rebecca, has grown to compete with the best brand agencies in the UK. So Rebecca, thanks for joining.
Jack, thank you. Kind words.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for coming on. Tell me about your background, your foundations, and how you got started in design.
Oh gosh, I'm going to go back to the very early beginnings and probably when I was that very awkward, shy schoolgirl. And I just loved making things. I loved art and design. I was never happier. And I think it came from a place that actually I was in quite a noisy big family, but I found my expression through just making things. Right. And that became more important to me as I progressed through school. And it wasn't just a hobby, it was actually a real genuine passion. Yeah. So I always knew that it was what I wanted to do. I didn't quite know what form it was going to take, but actually it was very important. And when I told my father that I wanted to go to art college, he famously said, well, that's a waste of a good education. Right. But he's since backtracked and said, no, it was, it was an amazing choice. But it wasn't easy to convince people that a career in art and design was actually equally as valid as perhaps going to a more academic university. So right. And so you got a degree and an education in design, and then after that you could have gone down the traditional route and worked for one of the big agencies. What made you want to start your own agency? So when I finished at the Royal College of Art, I actually had an opportunity to go and join Marks and Spencer's and their graduate trainee program, but I remember going to their head office at Baker Street for the interview. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget this moment. I walked down an incredibly long corridor and it didn't have any names on any of the doors. They just had numbers. Wow. And I thought, I can't work for an organisation where there's a number on the door and not somebody's name. Right. And it was just really at odds with me. So I sort of fell into starting off doing my own projects for clients. Okay. I never set out to start an agency, but I fell into it partly because I chose not to go and join one of the really big players and follow that traditional route. Right. But maybe there was just an instinct in me that I didn't want to be a number. I don't like being told what to do. Mm-hmm. And I sort of wanted that creative freedom. And also, very importantly, my parents never told me not to. Right. I wouldn't say they necessarily encouraged me, but they definitely didn't try to stop me. Mm. So that's where we started. Wow. Okay. And then what about RBL? Tell me about how that started. So RBL started in 2004 and I decided that I needed to spend more time at home and with my two children. I've got two boys. Yeah. And I was never, ever there when they were really little. And it'll shock many people. And in fact, it shocks me even to say this. I went back to work 3 days after both of my children were born. Yeah. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Right. And when they were doing their GCSEs and A-levels, I knew I had to try and repair that. And I had to spend more time with them. So I wanted to be based more at home. And I set up RBL, which stands for Rebecca Battman Limited. No prizes there in the world of brand naming. But I never intended to set up an agency. I was just going to be an independent freelance brand consultant. And that was a little bit of SEO magic that I started off with, and it really worked. So I spent 6 years working from home in my living room while the boys were doing GCSEs and A-levels, and I absolutely loved it. But in a way, I became a little bit of a victim of my own success because I soon needed more help. And 6 years later, I had a wonderful man called Andy who came and started working with me. He still works with RBL today. And then we were joined by a lady called Harriet. And the three of us then started to do some really amazing work together. And as the boys were going off to university, I started to think, maybe I should take this and make it bigger.
Right. And what has that grown into? What is that? Something that it sounds like you started as a freelance project, and then you decided maybe let's turn this into something bigger. What's that grown into today?
I mean, it's a long story, but today RBL is most definitely not about me, Rebecca Battman. It's a team of 20. We've got a turnover of about £2.5 million.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of the fact that 40% of our work is for international clients, and we're very much focused on strategic branding. So typically we work for complex, commercially minded organisations, often in critical sectors for the UK economy or internationally, but they're all at really important moments of change, moments of sort of crucial change for their organisation or the marketplace that they're involved in. And they don't just need a new logo.
Right.
That would be easy. What they need is a completely different way of thinking about their organisation. And they need to generate that from the inside out. They don't want somebody to come and tell them what the answer is. They want somebody to work with them to help them shape that answer. And then they need all of the creative campaigns and communications to help to share that story.
Right.
So that's very much the world that we're involved in.
Right. Wow. And what are you most proud of from the work that RBL has done over the past 20 years?
Oh, it's impossible to pick any one project, because you know what, they're all so different. And maybe what I'm most proud of is that diversity. And sometimes people will challenge, well, how can you work for so many different clients in different sectors? How do you develop the deep knowledge and expertise in any one area? And I always explain it that we're not experts in any one area. Our clients are. They know their sector and their industry better than we can. But we are experts in branding and communications. Yeah. And when we combine that, their knowledge and expertise with our knowledge and expertise, something really magical happens. If there's a particular campaign I'm really proud about, it would probably be the campaign we did for Team GB at London 2012, just because that was just a defining moment for the nation. And we were blown away by what they achieved. So I can't take any credit for winning any medals. The athletes did that, but what a huge honour to just play a part in that. And I loved it. We all did. We had a ball.
That's great. And what advice would you give yourself, your 20-year-old self, when you were starting out?
What advice would I give my 20-year-old self? I want to say, have a little bit more self-belief in yourself, because back then I was really very shy and not very confident. I know people will find that amazing to think about me, but I wasn't. And I should have had more confidence in myself, because I was better than I thought I was. Right. And I've always been torn between this idea of sort of have no fear. You know, there are some people who just approach everything with innate confidence and they just throw themselves into it. I'm not sure I agree with that, because sometimes I think it's more a question of feel the fear and do it anyway.
Right.
And I think fear is a great driver. It's definitely been a really big driver for me. Fear of failure, fear of disappointing somebody, fear of losing my independence. You know, sometimes fear is important to drive you on, because you feel that you want to go that extra mile because you're concerned about what happens if you don't do it. Yeah. So, but maybe if I'd had a bit more confidence, it wouldn't have been quite driven by so much fear or uncertainty. Right. And yeah, I'd tell my 20-year-old self, just believe in yourself a bit more. It's going to be okay. Right. It's going to be okay.
I mean, looking back now and seeing everything that you've accomplished, I'm sure that would have given you confidence, but it's hard to have that until you've had those successes.
Yeah, but, you know, it's not necessarily been easy or straightforward.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody ever think that behind every business or supposedly successful business person or business that there isn't a story behind it of a lot of hard work and failure and disappointment. but you pick yourself up and you keep going and you learn from those mistakes, and that's what drives you to do it better.
Yeah. What are the hopes for the future? What are your hopes for the future of RBL and the team?
So number one, I want the agency to carry on. I want it to have a really successful life beyond me. I mean, it's no secret that I'm already talking to the leadership team about them taking over the majority ownership of the agency. And I want to see the agency carry on doing the great work that it is doing. I mean, what we're all about is about quality of people, quality of thinking, quality of clients and relationships, quality of work. That's just got to carry on. But I'm truly excited about where they might take it under their tenure. I mean, my God, we've started doing 40% of our work is in international work. I didn't believe that we could do that. We've done our first £500,000 branding program. That's amazing. They're going to do so many more exciting things in the future, and I want to play a small part of being there on the outside saying, how can I help? But actually it's about them taking it forward, and that's really exciting, because to start an agency but see it thrive beyond you, that's the ultimate success that you can have.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Rebecca. Thank you for joining.
My pleasure. Great to talk to you.
And thank you for listening. We'll be back soon with more episodes of Brand Bridge.